Good evening, everybody. Day 15 of 66 days in a row of hand reading. I'm loving this. Things are going really well. Thank you very much for joining once again today. So, yesterday you could see
I'm loving this. Things are growing really well. Thank you very much for joining.
Started tagging hands that we've done with the little 66 days tag. So every time I see a smiley face, I know to avoid those hands. Very important. Looking at these, there's not really a lot to be going off of for the heroes range. When I'm hand reading the heroes range, my range, I want to see action on different streets, whether it's passive actions, checking and calling, or aggressive actions like betting and raising. And really, there's just not a lot here. That's why we went over this one. Raise, check, check, raise. It doesn't sound like a fun hand. Two streets where I can't really narrow anybody's range. I could take out maybe the strongest parts of ranges, but it's not really a big fan of that one. Let's look in the cutoff here. Raise, bet, check, fold. I don't want to see a folding hand when I'm trying to hand read myself here. Raise, check, call, check, fold. I don't want to fold. Raise, bet, check, bet. Okay, this could be an interesting one. Let's hit it. 6/11 is the date. Oh, of course, we've got to whip out our tools here. First is split suits hand reading templates here. Hand number 877-53522. Great. I don't know anything about this hand. Don't know who my villain is either. And then, of course, Flopzilla as the other ranging tool. Now, when we hand read just the heroes range, I'm just going to assign some kind of random hand based on the pre-flop action, just one hand that I think he might have. The goal is never to range your opponent down to just one hand. You want to go on a narrow range and assess how strong that range interacts with the board. But just for these instances, so we don't do a full range versus range reading, we just got to give some random hand right here. And who knows, we might be right. So let's start reviewing. Whoops. Let's give a look-see. Oh, you can see at the bottom of your screen right there, splitsuit.com/templates is where you want to go to download the hand reading templates for yourself. Okay, so let's see this hand. Raise. And then rear. Okay, nice. So it's a 3-betting hand. Well, obviously, I filtered for 3 bets. I didn't change that filter from yesterday. So we had an ISO raise. We 3-bet the ISOer, and then he calls. So right here, now I can tell you that 3-betting, occasionally I will isolate kind of with semi-bluffing hands. So this is not only a value 3-bet. There's plenty of semi-bluffs in it as well. Not like King 4 offsuit, nothing like that. But more like Ace Deuce 3, Ace 5 suited, 8 9, 9 10, 10 Jack suited, stuff like that. Maybe not 10 Jack. 10 Jack would be a call, but 9 10 and 8 9 suited as well. So let's take a look at our 3-betting range here. Take a look at this one. Let's see this 12. I don't think I'd be 3-betting down to 8s and 9s. I 3-bet here. I think I'd probably be calling. I like those. Those are some of my common 3-bet semi-bluffing hands. I don't think I would be using Ace 9 suited. Ace Jack offsuit. King Queen, I don't think. King Queen suited, I could 3-bet with there in all these. So it's actually a rather tight range that we're on. All of these deuces through 8s, 9s, I can 3-bet 9s. 8s and below would probably be a call right here. So I am not going to put those in my 3-betting range. Ace 5, I don't often have suited gappers in my range, and I don't often go down as far as 8-7 suited. These are my normal 2 3-bet semi-bluffing hands. So we're going to stick with this range for now. Let's see. Oh, what's our position, by the way? Our position is cutoff hijack, just MP. In MP, 3-bet versus ISO raise. Isolating player calls. Flop comes, turn comes, river comes, and then we learn a lesson down here. Great. So we've got a 8% range, we'll say 104 combos. So with our 104 combos, it's looking pretty value-oriented and semi-bluff oriented. Semi-bluff means basically you're happy if they fold because you don't have a made hand yet. But in case they do call, you have something that can flop really well, that can get a lot of value out of your opponent if you flop well. Oh, and then let's see, he ISO raised and then called. Let's give him something quite simple, which makes sense for an ISO raised caller. Ace Queen offsuit. Let's go even just slightly worse. Ace Jack offsuit. Let's try that one. Now that I've assigned that, I won't be changing it because now that I've assigned this hand, that kind of takes away, that blocks a lot of different hands that we have here. Well, we have so many aces. Let's not block really with an ace. Let's give him some sort of pair that he could be ISOing and then calling with. Let's give him tens. Let's do that instead because that doesn't block a big part of our range. So our range went from 104 combos down to 95. If we had an ace, down to 82, it's a big part of the range blocked. So let's give tens right here. Flop 9 deuce 5. All right. So if this is our range, we currently have 50-50 against pocket tens. Right here we have so many hands that just didn't hit anything. We hit a pair of nines here and there. Hit a set. Lots of overpairs and lots of ace high hands, possible flush draws, backdoor flush draws, stuff like that. So let's see what our action is. So 560 in the pot, it's a 3-bet pot. Let's see here. He folds to c-bets 29%, which is not much at all. And then in 3-bet pots, fold to c-bet out of position. We haven't seen any c-bet, any 3-bet pots, except for this one time on the, yeah, okay. So no, haven't seen how he reacts to c-bets and 3-bet pots yet. But in general, out of position, folding to c-bet on the flop only 40% of the time. The guy just does not like to fold. So if I'm betting here, I should be betting for value. I really should be because he doesn't like to fold. 373, 2/3 pot, okay. And he just calls. So for us right here, I could see pocket tens. For him, just check calling at this point. That's not out of the question. But what are we c-betting? Given that he doesn't like to fold to c-bets, what are we c-betting on this board? C-betting sets for value, c-betting over pairs, c-betting top pair. So it's like 9-10, 9-8. I think I'm often c-betting there. Because he could be calling with a couple overcards, so I'm charging those overcards to come along. And if the overcard doesn't hit, if another 10, if a 9 comes out, I could go for additional value on the turn. And if an undercard comes, I'm not so scared. I'd probably bet again, double barrel and charge him for his overcards that are possible within his range. So I can see the top pairs betting right there. It's just those two. Let's see, pocket pair below. Middle pairs, I'm not betting a 5. Weak, ace high, no. Flush draws, I like the bet. Gut shots. I actually do. No, I don't like those at all. I'd rather check behind and get a free turn right there. Overcards, not such a fan of betting. When the guy doesn't want to fold, I'm not a fan of betting. Let's see here. 2-card backdoor. I could see those betting at least because some of them have gut shots. Most of them are overcards to the board. I still have the ace, so I think. So if ace hits, I can hit a good top pair. So I think right here, this makes sense for our range. Top pair are better and some of the best draws, 2-card backdoor. So 55% of our pre-flop equity, 48 hands. So we've taken away a pretty good amount here. Now we can see if he does have pocket tens, which does make sense. He doesn't necessarily have to check raise or donk lead with an overpair here. Because we 3-bet pre-flop, he could be counting on us to c-bet, and maybe he's just going to just check call and get value out of our ace kings and ace queens. They're going to be calling right here. So we've got the pocket tens, or he's got the pocket tens. And then if he has pocket tens, we have this range. Our range is actually 69% equity versus the overpair right now. So things are looking good if that is our hand. If that is, in fact, our hand. The 7 of spades. Oh, yeah. 68% equity still. So things are looking good. That doesn't change the board so much at all. It does, if we did have the backdoor draw, it gave us a little bit of equity with that equity out there. Now we could hit some kind of an additional spade on the river to make a killer hand. And I think all of our backdoor draws were the ace highs. So, I guess king, queen also we had. So they were nut or second nut backdoor draws. Things are looking good. Let's see what happens. Okay, so we checked behind. The 7 really shouldn't scare me. If I have an overpair, I think I should bet again at this point because he doesn't like to fold. He could be calling with just 10s. We have pocket queens or kings here. I think we should bet again for value with an overpair. With the set, we should definitely bet again for value. That board just got a little bit wetter. Any 6, any 8 has a gut shot. 6-8 just hit a straight, but he'll let us know with a big check raise if we hit our if he just hit his straight right there. Yeah, I think we need to be betting here with sets. So let's remove the sets from our range, and there aren't any 2 pairs. Overpairs, man, I'm just not a fan of checking behind with the overpairs. I don't think we have an overpair. I think we would have bet with an overpair, so I am going to remove those from my range. We could have the top pair hands, definitely. The weak pairs, I don't think so. Ace highs, nope. Flush draw. I think we're checking those just to see it free on the river instead of possibly getting check raised. No flush draw checking, gut shots over cards are checking at this point too. Oh, that's right. I'm thinking checking hands. Top pairs are checking, middle pair, weak pairs are checking. Yeah, I think my over pairs would be betting here. So actually, wow, we kept in 100% of our range. No change at all to the range. Did we even lose anything? No, we didn't. That 7 of spades that hit, that didn't block anything in our range. We have 0 7s in our range at all. So we still have 100% of the previous range and 48 combos. All right. So as you can see, we're still at that 68% equity right here. So the king of spades hits. My guess is I've got a flush. A flush right now, and I probably did bet on the flop with that backdoor flush draw. And if not, I mean, I have ace king, I have king queen in my range as well, and I just hit a top pair hand. Whoops. So what happens? He checks. I bet $4, and he calls. Okay, great. So I think the 10s can check call right here. It's not the strongest of overpairs, just one greater than the board, and he's not going to be super eager to get his money in at this point. He's a pretty passive player in general at 31-13, so he's more calling than he is betting and raising. King of spades. So if you think about it, $4. This feels like, it really does feel like a flush. It feels like we hit a flush and we just going for max value against the guy. So we got to bet our flushes straights. Sets now? Man, I don't think we can bet that. Yeah, Wait, we took the sets out of our range. A set of 9s at least. On the turn, didn't we? Sets. I said no, we didn't have them. Which are the 9s. I removed them. How come sets remain in our range? Of course we have kings. I mean, that's a set. I gotta think about this. I do not know what happened. How come those are not being removed from the range? Are they in some other way? Pocket pair below, flushed. Are they kept in with one of these weird draws? They're kept in with no flush draw. Dang it. I shouldn't have kept that one in. Okay. That makes sense because no flush draw is a set of 9s currently. So what are we checking behind here? Okay, we're checking top pair, checking the weak pair, checking the ace highs, checking the no-mate hand. We can be checking our flopped or turned flush draws. We don't want to mark no flush draw because that just puts everything that isn't a flush draw in. We could be checking our gut shots and our overcards. There we go. So actually we did narrow our range a little bit on the turn right there for checking. So $20, and to go from 48 down to 20, that's 42%. All right, good. So we actually did narrow the range. Great. So that kept everything in that we had, yeah, because they weren't flush draws. Awesome. I love it. You learn a little something every day when you're hand reading. Learn to use the program just a little bit better. Catch mistakes like that. That's great. So now the king of spades hits. Let's see. What are we value betting here? The flushes. What's the top? Oh, ace. Oh, yeah. Ace, king, king, queen. We're definitely betting that right there. Mid pairs. I don't think I don't see any point in betting there. We've already shown so much passivity. He's just checked. We probably just want to see a showdown with the mid pair hands. Yeah, so I'm thinking that's my range right there. So my range altogether is only 9 combos of making this bet on the river. As you can see, because I'm narrowing the hero's range, we have oh man, very, very small range, 3-bet pot. And with my actions, really limited my range right there. I didn't keep it wide at all. So let's see what I had. Ace King, perfect. Holy cow. Ace King was in our range. Oh, I took it out of the range on the flop. He doesn't like to fold, but I still decided to c-bet. Interesting. Okay. So I remove the 2 overs Ace King off from my flop range, but kept Ace King suited in. I think that makes sense. And the one-time flop c-bet is worth making. Yep. Interesting. So I didn't hand read myself. That wasn't a successful hand reading at all. I took that out on the flop, thinking that he is so flop. He is c-bet only 30. He folds only 29% of the time. I just figured, yeah. At the time, I decided to c-bet 2/3 pot just to get him to fold, because that is, you know something. Yep. I didn't mention it here, but now that I look at it, just think about a 9-deuce-5 flop. Okay, so let's take this off. Let's clear everything. On the 9-deuce-5 flop, right? This is actually a really hard flop for lots of ranges to hit. So let's look at just any kind of calling ranges. A 17% range. This only hits top pair or better and open and straight draw or better 17.4% of the time. Let's look at a wider range. 22%, only 25% of the time. Even wider, 29% of the time. These ranges, the wider the range, like the kind of more often it could hit some kind of a top pair hand because they have plenty more 9s in their range. But in general, I didn't consider it right now as we were doing this hand reading. 9-deuce-5 is hard to hit, so it makes sense to c-bet that kind of board most of the time, especially because it's a 3-bet pot. We have that initiative. We want to try to win that bigger pot on the flop on a hard-to-hit board, even though we didn't hit it. So it does make sense that I decided at the time to c-bet this hand, and I should have, right now in the hand reading, I should have realized that the 9-deuce-5 was a hard-to-hit board, and I would c-bet with a wide part of my range because of that. All right, so that's one mistake I made. So look for hard to hit boards and how those will influence my c-betting decisions. Great. Well, that's it for hand reading today. Thank you very much, everybody. Join me again tomorrow for day 16. Take care.